alaikum. All right, looks like the energy in this room is very high, mashallah. Very good. So, how are you all doing? John J. Very good. Just dead from exam? You had midterms? A lot of responses, mashallah. Very good. We're gonna fix that by the time we get to Maghrib and then the second part. We'll fix that, inshallah. All right. So I'm happy to be back at John Jay. Every year I get a chance to come here, alhamdulillah. And it's always good to see all of you. Today was interesting. When I was coming here, I saw one of my old patients. She's a college student here, and non-Muslim. And she saw me, and I had to have that whole awkward moment of she trying to hug me, and I had to give my handshake, So we had that situation, and then we had a very good conversation. Happy to see that she's doing well. I'm happy to see a lot of familiar faces and some new faces. So tonight we are speaking about emotional intelligence, but I don't want to make this an academic talk. This has to be real talk. I want to make sure that you and I go home being able to apply something with whatever we discuss. So I know we have two parts to this. First about 20 minutes, and then we have the prayer, the Salat al-Maghrib, and then we're going to continue the second part. So that is quite a challenge for me because I warm up after like 20 minutes, so we'll make it work. So we're talking about emotional intelligence, and in a summary, emotional intelligence comes down to this. I'll make it really non-academic, straightforward for you. It comes down to you being able to identify your emotions and manage it, and then being able to identify someone else's emotions and manage it. That's what it comes down to. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet of God, he was sitting with his companions, and a man came with some grapes, some fruits. And I want you to pay attention to how much read the Prophet of God had in the situation. He read the emotions in the room. So this man, what is that, this thing? No, not really. Interesting noises. All right. It's the CUNY funding. All right. So, okay. Here we are. Oh, it went away. Very nice. Okay. So what was I talking about? Donald Trump? No. I was talking about emotional intelligence. So Rasulullah, is sitting with his companion. The Prophet of God is sitting with the companion. And this man walks in. He brings in dates. He's giving a gift to the Prophet of God. So he brings in dates, other companions are sitting around, and it was the habit of Rasulullah to share whatever gifts that comes in. So he's sitting with his companions, they're having some kind of lesson, they're sitting with the message of God, and somebody brings in dates, he shares it. Somebody brings in grapes, he shares it. This man, he brought in some grapes. And Rasulullah takes the grape in the name of God, Bismillah, he eats it, and then he takes the next, and the next, and the next, and he finishes the entire grape basket. And so the companions are sitting around, they're a little bit shocked, because Rasulullah usually, he shares. So this man, I want you to pay attention, it's such a simple story, yet such a powerful read that Rasulullah had in the room. And so this man, he goes away, he's happy to feed the message of God. He gave him grapes as a luxury fruit. It's not like today you just go to Walgreens or you go to Walmart. It's not so simple. It's grapes. It was a luxury fruit, and so he gave a luxury gift to Rasulullah, to the Prophet of God. And so he takes it and he eats it all. The man leaves happy, and one of the companions said, "Ya Rasulullah, and this is obviously your gift, but usually you share." And Rasulullah says, the grapes, they were very sour. And I didn't want that I share with you, you take a bite and you make faces because it's going to be sour. So, what is this? Oh. And then this man who brought with all his love and he came here to give me a gift, he will feel hurt. And so I ate all the grapes myself. And I kept a smiling face and a pleasant face, and the man left happy. Also, I had read in the situation. Ikrimah, the son of Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl, you could imagine, he was the worst Islamophobe in the life of the Prophet of God. For the early Muslim community, he was the worst. I mean, he caused trouble, he caused pain, and his son Ikrimah comes to Rasulullah to visit him. Now, Ikrimah is not so innocent either. He joined in his father's horrible acts. He was, and Ikrimah is coming to Rasulullah. Rasulullah gets this message. And Rasulullah says something very interesting. And you have to again understand the emotional intelligence that Rasulullah had. So Abu Jahl, those of you who might not know, it was this character in the early Islamic community. And he was the worst, Islamophobe. But his actual name was not Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl literally means the father of ignorance. Nobody names their kid father of ignorance. I mean, maybe some parents do, but nobody really names their kid father of ignorance. His actual name, what people used to call him was Abu al-Hakam, actually, father of wisdom, because he was very wise. He was a great leader for Mecca, for the city of Mecca. He was a great leader. So people called him the father of wisdom, Abu al-Hakam, right? Because Amr ibn Hisham is his actual name. But the Muslim community, because of the amount of horrible things he did, they used to call him the father of ignorance. And that name stuck with him for the rest of his life. Right? And so Rasulullah says to his companions that Ikrimah, the son of Amr ibn Hisham, Abu Jahl, is coming. And when he comes here, I want none of you to refer to his father as Abu Jahl. When he's in our presence, I don't want any of you to refer to his father as Abu Jahl. Because end of the day, that's his father. And Prophet of God understood that. He has emotional read. He was emotionally intelligent. And so today, I want to talk about emotional intelligence, but I want to cover only 2 areas of it. Emotional intelligence ultimately has 4 big areas. Now, different psychologists, different researchers have broken down in different ways. But I like to break it down in 4 paths. Number 1 is self-awareness, which is identifying your feelings. Number 2 is emotional mastery, which is being able to manage your feelings. That's your side of the story. And then this side, we have empathy, which is understanding someone else's feelings. And then we have interpersonal skills, which is managing someone else's feelings. You guys get that 4 divisions here? You side, the other person's side. In your side, identify, manage. This person's side, identify and manage. What I want to cover tonight, in this few minutes that we have together, is only being able to identify your side, not the managed part of it. And then on this side, being able to identify someone else's feelings, not the managed side of it. We might be able to just only cover you being able to identify your feelings, self-awareness, maybe. If we get time, we'll cover the empathy, which is understanding someone else's world. Now, this is powerful because growing up, your teachers, your parents, and I'm not throwing any shades at anybody, but they told you that if you have intelligence, good grade, high IQ, you could succeed in life. That's just frankly false. IQ is most IQ, your intelligence, and even that how you define it, different people have defined it different ways. Even your IQ, if it was the only indicator for success, then we would imagine that the presidents of the world, the movers and shakers of the world, reformers of the world, CEOs of big companies, all of them would be Harvard and Oxford graduates. And that is just not the case. And so, matter of fact, IQ is mostly dictated at birth, as mostly genetics. You can learn certain language part of it and so forth, but it's mostly by birth. But on the other hand, emotional intelligence, you're intelligent when it comes to your knowing your feelings and someone else's feelings and being able to manage those two things, that can be learned. That can be learned. So we want to get to the first part, which is self-awareness. You guys with me here? So we got 4 parts. We're on part number 1, self-awareness, identifying your feelings. Okay. I want to tell you this in a little silly example about my nephew and while we were potty training him. Okay? So when my nephew was being potty trained, first of all, you have to help the child understand what poo-poo and pee is. It comes out of their body, but they have no clue what it actually is. My nephew used to call it Cheerios. And he wouldn't know the difference. Matter of fact, they don't know that this something is yucky. You have to actually teach them. You have to make them aware that this thing is not good. Because, at one point he would, poop in his diaper, and then bring the whole diaper to the kitchen, right? And just lay it out on the kitchen table. Mommy, look, right? And some of you, maybe your parents here, and you know the struggle. And I witnessed it. And you have to first let the person know, let the child know that this is what you go to the bathroom here, and this is what you do, right? And for Muslims, it's another kind of struggle, teaching your child how to use the water and so forth. And that's a whole different struggle. But to begin all this, you have to make him aware that, look, pooping and peeping on your diaper is no good. You have to do it here. Right? You have to make them aware that it's coming out of your body. When you feel this, let mommy know, okay? First month or so, they will do it, and then they'll tell you, right? That, yeah, I did it. Oh, well, that's too late now. Your trainer's not going to work. And so you have to sort of teach them to be aware of what's coming out. Now, this is very interesting. Now, you might be saying, oh, that's such a silly example. But look, I have a point here. There's a theory. You learn to even manage what comes out when it comes out, right? Kids, they do it wherever. They could be in a plane, in a lecture hall, at home, in the crib. They could be anywhere. They just poop and pee whenever it comes out. But as an adult, though, you learn to control that. You learn to manage it. You don't just let it out whenever, right? So there's this theory that, if you got potty trained too late, or there was kind of struggle with the potty training, as an adult, you become like that, but except with your words. So you blurt out stuff anywhere, anytime, because you got no control over what comes out of your mouth. That's such a theory. All right. So my point is, you have to first become aware what's actually happening. What are my emotions? What is anger? What is fear? What is stress? What is hope? What is pessimism? All different kinds of fear, sadness, grief. You have to be actually aware this is happening to me. For example, anger, a lot of you get angry, then you realize I was angry, right? So you're not actually aware this is happening to you. So you got to be able to identify first before you can even manage. You guys with me here? So only 2 people with me? I'm getting 2 people shaking their head. Other people's like, I don't know, I'm watching Netflix on my computer. All right, so you have to be able to be aware first. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to, it's a Quranic instruction to think about yourself. Because sometimes we live life, we're just moving, we're just going. Things are just rolling. We never get to really sit down and say, well, you know what? Who am I? What am I really? What are my fears? What are my worries? What do I love? What am I about? We're just living and living. And you get to this point, especially as young adults, you and I get to this point where we're trying to start to think about ourselves. And that's why no surprise, Allah said in the Quran, أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah says, don't they think deeply about themselves? Allah actually wants you to think about yourselves. Think deeply about yourself. Think deeply about the heavens. Think deeply about the planet. Allah wants you to actually think. Because if you don't have time to actually sit back and think, you can't reflect and you can't identify, then you can't manage. And so the first thing is being able to reflect that, right? Now, because most of us define ourselves by maybe the job that you have. So these are my job titles, so I am this. And people even emulate this. You will see this across the board. And I'll give you even Islamic example, right? Where Muslim example, where somebody who goes to Azhar University, or someone who goes to Medina University, someone who goes to Darul Uloom, you will see them, they come out of that after 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, they start to act and talk like it, right? I had a friend of mine, right? And I have no problem with them, learning from their teachers. And you guys know these are different schools where you learn Islamic studies. You understand? Different style and tradition of Islamic studies. Now, I had a friend of mine. He wanted, he's a kid born here. He's all, it's cool, And he goes to Darul Uloom. He comes back after like 5 years, and he started using some Urdu words. I'm like, yo, where'd that come from? Like, and he started saying and he started to talk even his English in a very fobby way. I was like, dude, what's going on? He feels like, he needs to emulate that whole culture that's inside Darul Uloom, right? That's a very traditional Indian subcontinent Islamic studies route, right? So dude has, he actually forcing himself to, he doesn't realize it, he actually forcing himself to have that accent. He wears that same kind of clothes, right? I know someone who, likes Sheikh Saad Taslim a lot, and he, almost, and even emulates, or, tries to, or Sheikh Umar Sulaiman, even puts on the similar style, And so sometimes we define ourselves by the roles, jobs that we have, the house that we bought, the car that we drive. We feel like if I drive this car, then I'm this type of person. If I drive this car, I'm that type of person. Even we let that define us, right? Or, we define ourselves by what people think of us, what our friends and family, how they perceive us. We define ourselves that way. But the question I want to ask you is, who are you really? Have you ever asked yourself this question? Who in the world are you? Who are you? Let's strip away all these things from you, and I'm asking you, who are you? Really, who are you? Now, what stops us from being able to figure out who we are? Time check? 10 minutes. Good. So, what stops us from being able to come to terms with ourselves or become aware of ourselves is actually two things, okay? Is showing off and pride. That's like the first hindrance. If you have those two things, that will stop you from being able to be self-aware, okay? Showing off, okay, of course we got that riyah. From a religious perspective, if you show off acts of worship, right? And then that's sinful, okay. But even I'm not talking about even from religious perspective. I'm not talking about riyah per se. Even from just, act of showing off, it turns off people. Even in a non-religious sense, it turns off people, right? So it's one thing to share your joy, that you're very happy about the internship that you got, or that you're graduating this year. That's one thing to be very happy about that. Another thing is to keep on showing off the internship, the research that you got into. You bring it into a conversation, even though the conversation is not about that, because it happened yesterday and you got it and you bring it in somehow, right? Or, you use social media to do that, right? And, you're in your social media, Instagram, feed, your family is flawless, your friendships are flawless, your vacations are flawless, and all the highlights of your life define who you are, right? And that showing off stops you from really sometimes digging deep and say, who am I, right? And you barely spend time with your family, but you put up Instagram posts, love my fam, and your fam has you nowhere to be found, right? Beside that picture. And you put on these images, and that makes no sense. And I had a friend of mine. He actually he went with his friend because his friend's father has a business, right? And his friend's father has a business, and they deposit like $100,000 at a time. That's their cash deposit, right? It's a very cash heavy business or check heavy business. And he goes with his friend so he could take a picture on the gram to show that check that's $100,000. First of all, that's not his check. That's not his friend's check. That's his friend's dad's check. And he went with him all the way to the Bronx to take it, so just so that he can show that, look at depositing big amount. You know what I'm saying? Just for the gram of it. I know people who have anxiety or who have, They have anxiety over if today is going to be a good day for the gram. Like, man, today is kind of lame. Things are dry today. I got nothing for the gram today. I got nothing going on. If you feel anxiety about that, you know. And so you being able, that showing off, that hinders you from really digging deep into who you really are. Because the facade stops you. You got that image in front of you. And the second thing that stops you is your pride. Pride. Pride stops you. You know, and that's why that's such a strong, saying of the Prophet that لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. This is the hadith that that none of you shall enter paradise. If you have even a small ounce of pride in your heart, because a paradise is too pure for people of pridefulness to enter it. You have to be cleaned of that. And and there is no such statement made about anything else in the faith. How pride is talked about. It's very strong hadith, very strong saying of the Prophet. And so you recall a story of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The companions they're out and they're in an expedition and they need to they're camping somewhere. They need to prepare food. And so people get divided different tasks. Okay, you slaughter the animal. You prepare the meal. You get the fire running. And someone has to collect the wood. So you can imagine that's like the low level job. You know what I'm saying? And that's not the high end job, right? And you're running an event. The moderator is a high end job. Someone is planning, but someone is going to clean up the chairs afterwards. That's a very low end job, right? You can imagine Rasulullah. He's the messenger of God, and while the companions are dividing up the task, he goes, okay, I will collect the wood. I'll go out there, I'll bust my back, I'll do that. He said, Rasulullah, no, you do the honorable stuff, the cooking, the slaughtering the animals. This is good stuff. When you're doing a potluck together, that's the good stuff. What was with the whole cleaning or the bathroom side of it? That's the hard part. And so that level of pride, people are different at home, right? People are different at home. And that's no surprise. Rasulullah says in hadith that the best khairukum min ahli, that the best among you are the best to their families. Because look, his wife Aisha anha, she says that whenever he would enter the house, he would smile, he would be of service, he would cook, he would clean, he would iron his clothes. Because some of you are so sweet and energetic outside, people love you, say, wow, she's so sweet and energetic. And people see you in the house, you're the worst. You're like a bad energy in the house, right? And so your family is a real test of your character. It's easy being good with smiling with people that you don't know too well and having a little fun and going out. That's easy. But being having that level of manners, akhlaq with your family, that's the hard part. Because they will take you. They will push your buttons. They know you. And so being able to know yourself, what stops you is your narcissism. And I don't mean, of course, narcissistic personality disorder. Yeah, that's a whole psychological situation. But illness, but personality disorder. But I'm talking about just some of those symptoms of narcissism that we have, right? Things like thinking about other people's feelings and not thinking about other people's feelings. Like you come in and some of you you get together with friends and you just yap. You talk about you and they go, okay, gotta go. You get on the phone, you talk about you for half an hour, then I gotta go. You didn't even hear the other person. And the friend that you have, because you're the talkative one, the other friend of yours, she just listen. She never gets to share her pain. Because all day you just yap and they go, gotta go. And then you're done. And so you don't even care about the other person's feeling. That's not even in your radar, right? You think that you're the most important person, right? And it's so interesting. You think you're so important. Like I see uncles, no idea, ammus, I was sitting at a family get together, right? This uncle is sitting around and he's talking about how much discount he got when he called up Sprint or whatever, T-Mobile, and he somehow convinced the sales rep to give him some kind of discount. And he's talking about yeah, I call them up and they get it done. And I'm like, what? The small stuff. You gotta really show up about that. Such a silly small stuff. And you get the urge to share your opinions. You feel like if there's discussion, you have to give your opinions because somehow you're the political expert in the room. Everybody is in 2018 world. Everybody's a political expert, right? Everybody got an opinion about something. And so you feel you have something to say. You're not moved by what I'm saying. You're saying, you know what? I know this stuff. Yeah, I know this stuff. Yeah. My other person, yeah, I think they would have benefited in this talk. Let me text them. Let me take a clip and send them. I think it's for them. It's not for me. I'm good. And so that level of showing off, even you judge. I know someone, some young brothers especially, you're learning Quran, maybe you took a little class, you learned tajweed, and you go to a masjid and you think about the Imam's tajweed. Come up to me afterwards, the Imam made a little mistake. What? What do you care? Go talk to him. And you have that little feeling, I learned a little tajweed, so I could correct the Imam now. Right? You take advantage of people. You may not even realize it, right? You make passing comments about scholars and so forth because it's easy. You don't realize how it hurts. That's not none of your concern. You put up horrific pictures of Syria knowing that's going to get you extra likes. And you know it. Deep down inside you, yeah, you care about Syria. But you know certain articles, certain pictures, certain things you did, and it's going to get you more clout. You know it. And you do it. So, you're showing off. And all this stops you from being able to be honest with yourself. You hate being criticized. You hate it. You can't be told you're wrong because you're never wrong. You hate being told you're wrong. Any person that gives you any feedback, you attack them first. What does this person know? I know this person's flaw, and you attack them first. You think you're special, right? You really think you're very special because depending on where you want to live, if you really think about it, right? You and I are nothing, and I will pause for Maghrib with this. You and I are nothing. Really think about it. You are a human being on planet Earth out of 6.5 billion people. This planet is one of the planets in the solar system, which is a part of the Milky Way galaxy, which is part of many other galaxies and universes. All that is just the first heaven, and the first heaven to the second heaven is a ring in the desert. By heaven, I don't mean paradise. I mean the heaven of God. And by that, the ring in the desert. Second to the third, a ring in the desert. Third and the fourth is like a ring in a vast desert. It's nothing. All that, above that is the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, you and I are nothing. You were born, sperm and egg. You took a lot of dump in between, and you're going to be 6 feet under right after. That's you, that's me. In between, you got some prestigious certifications, whatever, you accomplished some one thing, but you're really nothing. Honestly. I'm really helping your self-esteem here. Really, if you really dig down, really, in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the sight of God, you don't even matter. But there's a flip side to that, right? I don't want to put down your self-esteem this much. I'll tell you this. For you to exist, a lot of things had to happen. For you to exist, the nitrogen level and the oxygen level in the atmosphere had to be exact amount. So you're quite special too. You were pre-planned. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah dignified the human being. With that, we take a break for the Maghrib prayer, and we'll pick up from here after Maghrib. Yep. Alrighty, here we go. So we want to make this worthwhile. You were here since 6:30. We spoke for about 20 minutes. Now we're going to continue for another 30 minutes or so, and we want to make sure that this is something that you can benefit from and also impacts just your relationships and you as a person. So, just again, come as close as you can, and then you will need a partner very soon. Okay, so we're talking about emotional intelligence, and I told you guys there were 4 sections, and you have being aware of your own feelings, managing them, being aware of someone else's feeling and managing them. And we're just covering today being aware of your own feelings, and then if we get a chance, we'll just glimpse over being aware of someone else's feelings. So in being aware of your own feelings, we're talking about self-awareness, right? And in self-awareness, we've been talking about what stops you from being able to reflect, with yourself. So we talked about pride and showing off that stops you. Now we're going to get to solution. There are 2 solutions. One is being vulnerable. Number 2 is self-disclosing. Being vulnerable and self-disclosing. There's two things that if you do them, it'll help you tackle that pride and that showing off that stops you from being self-aware. So why do we have a hard time being vulnerable? One of the reasons is low self-esteem. Finding ourselves lacking in comparison to others, pretending to be confident, being focused on the image, putting on a face to the world. And then another thing that stops us is connecting material things to our self-worth. So even you see advertising, they'll tell you, let your car speak for you. Rolex watch, let your watch speak for you. People take out loans and they have financial crisis just to have a wedding that, is in line with what other people are having. And they take out a whole loan that they deal with for the next few years. They have financial crisis, then they have fights in the house about it, all because started from day one. And then people work overtime to live a certain luxury lifestyle just so they keep up with their friends, right? And in between all that, they're killing their relationship with their kids, right? And so being able to be vulnerable requires that you realize that Allah doesn't look at your physical, your facial, Allah doesn't care about any of that because He gave you that. And to Allah, all that is really nothing. And so no one is more special because they earn a few more dollars. Maybe in this world that we live in, yes, but really deep down, it really, a few more dollars doesn't make you any more better of a person. And in this temporary phase that we're in, this world of this life, in this temporary phase, whether it be 60, 80, 90, it is a segmented time. In that, whether you had a little more money, little less money, whether you had certain prestige or you didn't, it's insignificant if you look at to the whole broad perspective context, right? And so really your self-worth comes from you. No one can make you feel inferior. No one. Frederick Douglass, you guys know him, at the time of, slavery, Frederick Douglass, he was in the state of Maryland, and he was one of those very rebel. He used to not listen to his master, and he would get sent to this guy named Eddie, right? So Eddie, Ed Coffey, his name was. Eddie was this guy. He would straighten up any slaves that didn't listen. So any slaves that had problems, they didn't listen to their master, get sent to Eddie. Eddie whips them to obedience. That's Eddie's job. So Frederick Douglass would be sent to Eddie, and he would be there whipped for 6 months straight. But he said something very interesting. He said that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And there was this Usama ibn Zayd, one of the companions of the Prophet. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet of God, he was sent this gown, so you can think about like tuxedo, from Ziyan, the mighty king of Yemen, right? And so Rasulullah, he got this gift, and Rasulullah didn't want to wear this very luxurious thing, so he gave it to Usama ibn Zayd, right? Usama ibn Zayd, was darker complexion, companion. He was low class in society, and the Prophet of God gave him this luxurious tuxedo. And so Ziyan, Usama ibn Zayd is wearing this, high-end cloth. He's walking around in Medina, and so the guy who gave the, dress to Rasulullah, he looks at him and goes, "Anta ya Usama? Like, why are you wearing this? Where'd you get this from? I gave that to Rasulullah. I gave that to the Prophet of God as a gift. You don't even befit to be wearing this kind of clothes." And you know what Usama said? He didn't go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was with Rasulullah, and I know he got this gift. It's not really mine, and he just gave it to me as a gift. I'm sorry, I know it's not really fitting for me to wear it. I'm not really that high class society." No. You know what he said? He said, "Wallahi ana khairu min Ziyan." He said, "I am better than Ziyan." Look at his sense of self-dignity. He said, "I don't care he's the king of Yemen. I don't care what prestigious tuxedo dress he gave him. I could wear it too. It's just a piece of cloth." That's the level of self-respect that he had. And so being able to be vulnerable, it takes strength. And number two, being able to self-disclose. Self-disclose, being able to share. One time, Umar radiallahu anhu, the companion of the Prophet, he was late to the sermon. So he was supposed to give the Friday sermon, and he came really late. When he came in, he was very straight up. He said, "Look, I only have this two good cloth or whatever, and one of them was dirty. I had to wash it. I had to wait for it to dry. Then I came and to give the sermon." Can you imagine who is Omar? Omar, radiallahu anh, the companion of the Prophet, when he was ruling the Muslim empire, it extended 1/3 of the world. You're talking about a king who is the ruler of 1/3 of the world. And he comes in front of his main gathering and says, "Look, I have only two good cloth, so I had to wash one and I had to dry it." Even me as a speaker, if I'm late to some place, right? It's hard to say, maybe I woke up late, whatever. I would say, "Oh, there's traffic, this and that." It's hard to be honest sometimes. Hard to be upfront with yourself sometimes. Right? And look at the level. He's someone that he was about to put some restriction on a dowry because it was getting difficult for some of the young men to get married on this and that and the tradition that was going. And he said, "I'm going to put a restriction." And one older woman said, "No, you can't do that. That's not allowed." And he said, "Yeah, Omar stands corrected." In the middle of the gathering, he's willing to admit his mistake. That takes a level of courage to be able to admit your mistake. Because sometimes we think we just got to be perfect. We can't admit mistakes because people will see our weakness and they will get us. No, your weakness actually makes you strong. Do you know that lawyers, if they have a weakness in their argument, they usually present that first. If you go to an interview and you have this certain gap in your employment history, whatever, you have to bring that out to the employer first. You have to be upfront about that. And then you talk about your strength, right? And being able to be honest. And I work with certain inmates. Some of my patients are former ex-felons. And they have this long history where they were in prison for 5 years. Now on their resume, they got to talk about this very sticky thing, that they're ex-felon. It's tough. They had a lot of skills before they went to prison. They made some mistakes, made some wrong choices. Things happen. And it's hard for them to come out and say, "Look, this is what I dealt with. I made some mistakes, but I have the skill, and I think I could do better, and I think I could be a good asset for your company." That takes a level of guts. You got to have that self-respect for yourself. And so being able to be vulnerable, being able to be self-disclosed, it takes a level of courage. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to start you off with something light, and then we'll go a little more, all right? So pick a partner, all right? Now, ideally, I didn't want to sit you guys like this. I wanted to give you guys a number and switch you up, right? But we'll do that for the last part of it. So for this first part of it, pick a partner, and I want you to talk to each other about, I'll give you the question, okay? Very simple question. What is one mistake you made in the past? Okay? So just, again, one person shares, another person shares, okay? Ready? You got only a minute. Go. Let me just look at my points. I would love to. But no, that's good. I like it. Give me a second. Let me just make sure I'm on the right track, and then we'll talk. Okay, cool. Let's talk. We're partners now. But this thing is on, but that's fine. Go for it.
Where do I?
So where to start? My list is huge.
Man. I don't know.
Again, be specific. What one mistake you made in your past? And I want you to be honest and upfront with your partner about it.
Maybe hide it if it's a crime,
It's not a group project. We're only 4 people together. 2 people together, please. And be upfront. This is part of your practice to get you out of your shell. All right? And be upfront about it.
One time I went to a place.
Right.
And it felt bad because I straight up lied to my parents and said I was not there. I was somewhere else.
That's true.
Very guilty especially after doing that.
That's true.
I shouldn't have done it. So.
Mistakes, my goodness. I have so many.
Yeah. That's just the iceberg.
Yeah, and that's true, right? Mistakes I made. I guess maybe even cursing. So I don't usually curse, but sometimes in certain contexts, you forget, like in non-Muslim context,
Yeah.
or like because they're all throwing around F word, and all of a sudden you find yourself like just joining in the conversation, especially in a non-Muslim setting. So sometimes you forget like your own ethics and values. So I've done that in the past.
One time I made a crazy mistake. I wrestled a
Wow.
It was crazy. I was a kid. I didn't know what those were. So
It's true.
very bad mistake. I had my mom come and tell me, no, don't ever go to that.
That's true.
It was funny enough. Couldn't beat it.
All right, guys, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Make sure both of you guys get to share. Okay, just be honest about one mistake you've made in the past. Quickly. Okay. Say your last few words. Face front, focused. All right. Just getting you warmed up, and we're going to go a little deeper towards the last part of the activity. Okay. So we have that, right? That's just the intro. What stops you being able to have self-awareness? Now, self-awareness, you have to be able to understand your world. There are a few areas, right? So understanding your soul, your own spiritual struggles, your spiritual strengths, your place as a human being, your own childhood, how that impacts you, because all that makes a big difference, right? They're almost the child inside you. What age, are you the firstborn? Are you the only child? All that makes a difference. Growing up, how did your parents treat you? Again, you need to be able to explore these things, and you have to ask yourself these hard questions, or else you're not going to know yourself. These are hardwired stuff. And so, growing up, how does your parent treat you? Did they teach you self-love? Meaning, did they love you conditionally or unconditionally? Meaning, did they say, if you get a good grade, then mommy loves you. So growing up, you learned that love was conditional. You have to do something in order to have that love and that warmth. So you learned conditional love. Growing up, did you learn to accept yourself? Did your parents say that he's too hyper, or you know what, her sister is more lighter skinned? I'm being real. And did you learn to accept yourself? Did you learn self-respect? Did you learn to respect yourself? Did your parents take your opinion? They always treated you like, doesn't know anything, make all the decisions for you. Even though you became 13, you had some ideas about the world, but they didn't care about any of your opinions. Did they make you feel respected? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's sitting, and his daughter Fatima comes in, and he sallallahu alaihi wasallam gets up. He gets up and he shows respect. He's the Nabi of Allah, right? He doesn't need to get up and respect for somebody. You get up when there's an elderly person coming, a respected person coming. His daughter walks in the room, he gets up. He shows her this respect and love. And so then when this daughter grows up, she has self-dignity. She has self-respect. No hormonal 13-year-old is going to come and impress her. Because my father always shows me self-dignity and respect. I have that inside me. That little stuff doesn't get to me. Self-respect. Did your parents teach you self-importance? Meaning that if you needed something, did they take care of your need, or they left you neglected? All that impacts you, makes you who you are. And if you don't know that, you can't know yourself. What kind of challenges did you face growing up? Did your parents go through a divorce? Were you bullied in school? All that makes you. And you got to be able to know that about yourself. What mistakes have you made? What accomplishments have you done? What are your passions? What are your drive? What are your habits? What are your thoughts about your body? What do you think about yourself? how you look, from your height to your color to your hair to your nose, all that makes a difference. How you think about yourself. You know, very, very interesting. This is going to probably get me in trouble. What is beauty? Right? Because I just thought of this. It's not part of the talk, but I had to go on this tangent because I was just talking about this with one of my clients. I was helping her, work on this. So, what is beauty? Right? What is beautiful? You could say, okay, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Is that really true? Asking a question. Is that true? The guy says no, and some sisters saying yes. I'm confused. Is beauty subjective or objective? Subjective. Really? Beauty is subjective. But if you survey most human beings on the planet, you get very similar answers. So is beauty subjective or objective? It's both. You see, in a psychological term, it's both. I'll tell you why. Certain things we are ingrained to consider a beauty. So symmetry, someone who is symmetrical, that's beautiful because that signifies health. Health signifies you being someone who is able to, have kids, and that signifies extension of progeny. So symmetry plays a role. Okay. Then certain body features that certain body features that portray strength. That means you can protect your tribe. Which you can protect your tribe, you can protect your progeny. You have extension of human species. That is objective. Way Allah hardwired certain things. What is subjective though is color. That's brainwashed. What is subjective is certain style of hair. The certain things are objective, certain things are subjective. So certain body structure that suits for a better bearing of a child. Certain body structure for a male figure that extends for strength to protection. Those are subjective. Symmetry that results in health could be objective. But definitely the looks and color, those are all objective. They are all subjective because they've been taught. You've been programmed. Now, very interesting here. You get into the rough water that I'm talking about, getting in trouble kind of thing. Very interesting that there's a study with about 300 adolescent girls, and they found that 7 out of 10 believe they're not good enough as far as academic, performance, relationship, appearance. And they engage in some kind of low self-esteem behaviors, negative activities, including eating, cutting, bullying, smoking, drinking, just to make themselves feel better. So your body does not make a statement. Now you get into some complicated things here, very, very interesting. So people have this whole thing about no one should tell anybody how to dress, right? Now I know this is a little bit on a tangent, but I want to bring this up because it's quite important, and I want to show you sort of middle ground in this. So you're right. No one should tell you how to dress. Few things about that. There was a study done where they took females and males. So they had the male either wear a very bulky jacket and dress, or a male wear much more less clothing. They did the same with female, either very bulky dress or very swimsuit, whatever. And then they gave them math test. And they found that when a female is wearing less clothing, they somehow they self-objectify, and that has a negative impact on their math grade. In English, what I'm saying is they're wearing skimpy dress leads to having bad scores on math exam. Now you could say that's a internalized misogyny. Possible. Okay, I will take that argument, but there's few problems. One is that having clothes and feeling shame if you're not wearing clothes, that's something that's taught. Is it? Because the Quran disagrees. Surah Araf makes it very clear that when Adam alayhi salam and Eve, when they lost their clothing, that was a shame. So Allah in your fitrah made you want to wear clothes. Now that's just first clothing. How much clothing? What kind of dress style? No man should tell a woman how to dress. True, but Allah does, right? And for man and woman, I'm not talking about here hijab. That's not my discussion here. I hope you guys don't take it in that direction. In the Me Too culture, things get like shifted in one direction. I'm talking about a whole different perspective here. I'm talking about the impact that it has. Now, so your body does not make a statement. So how many times you poked at your pimples, you feel bad about your intimate parts, and people are self-conscious about these things, right? And people don't accept their own self. And so what I'm asking you is, who are you, and are you able to recognize your own self? Are you able to accept your own self? Now, being able to be aware of yourself and then recognizing your feeling. I haven't even got to recognizing your feeling yet. I'm just talking about being aware of yourself. Now, what I want to do, I know there's Q&A in 10 minutes. What I want to do is I want you to go back to your partners. All right, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to very quickly. These are very fast-paced, like your quick questions. All right, and you answer them very quickly with each other. You guys ready? You guys all have a partner? Okay, I want you to switch your partner. So someone you had before. I don't want the same person. So talk to somebody else. Talk to somebody above you, or below your desk, whatever. Talk to someone else. You guys ready? Okay. All right. What kind of impression do you try to make in front of people? Be upfront about it. Be honest with yourself. I don't see everyone doing. Brother in the back, you're by yourself. Come on, find a partner. Find a partner. You got your partner. Go for it. Help the brother out. Question and answer we'll take at the end. Okay, no problem. Try your best. Yeah. Okay, up to you guys. No problem. So, what kind of impression do you try to make with people? 30 seconds, guys. Quickly, very quickly. Be upfront. Don't hold back. Just say it. Don't like sugarcoat it, couch it. Just say it. Be straight up. Okay, 15 seconds. Switch partners. Talk to the other person. Okay. Next one. What kind of people do you try to hang out? Do you like to hang out with? What kind of people do you like to hang out with? Go. Quickly, 30 seconds. These are rapid fire questions. Quickly. You guys can't talk that far from each other. A little closer. What are your fears, people? And be upfront, be honest, and talk with one person, please, not a group conversation. One person. What are your fears? Brothers, you guys are really quiet here. What are your fears? Okay, 15 seconds. What are your fears? Switch partners. Okay, ready? Next question. Who are you typically in your relationships? There'll be family relationship, friends. What are you typically? How do you tend to? And you'll see a pattern with yourself. from the friendships that you had all the way from kindergarten to now? Have you changed? Is there a difference? How do you tend to be in your relationships? Go for it. Again, be honest, be upfront. Don't give some cool answers. Be real. Stop hiding. Okay. 15 seconds. Alrighty. Last question. What does money mean to you? And be honest with yourself. Don't give vague answers. Oh, money doesn't mean blah, blah, blah. No, give real answers. Honest with yourself. How have you behaved over the years? How you look at money? How you look at wealth? Quickly, guys. Quickly. Go ahead. Guys, you guys are really quiet. What's going on? I don't hear you guys discussing. Good. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, 15 seconds. Again, don't give definitions. How do you relate with money? And you gotta be honest with yourself. Okay. 5 minutes? Okay. Alrighty. Say your last sentences. Face front. Focus. Alrighty. Alrighty, folks. So where are we? We're talking about emotional intelligence. We told you there were 4 areas. First area was to recognize your feelings. Self-awareness. Then is mastering your feelings. Then is empathy. Understanding someone else's feelings. And then was interpersonal skills. Managing someone else's feelings. Alright. In the self-awareness, we had 2 sections, right? Understanding yourself and then recognizing your feelings. We just did understanding your world. We didn't even get to recognizing your feelings. So this is the first start. Okay, tonight my goal was to get you guys started. Once you have this self-awareness, you can start to question yourself like this and really start to dig deep with yourself, your past, your history, your mistakes, your flaws that you're worried about, how you look at yourself, how you portray to the world, mask that you put on. All that, and you get real with yourself, really deep with yourself. Once you do that, after that, then you can get to recognizing your feelings. That's a whole different discussion. Then you can get to understanding someone else's world. That's a whole different discussion. Then you can get to understanding someone else's feeling. That's a whole different discussion. And that just makes 2 parts. So I want to leave you with this. Being able to be emotion focused. If you get anything out of this whole discussion tonight, be emotion focused. Emotion focused on yourself. How am I feeling? Be emotion focused on somebody else. Rasulullah ﷺ was someone who understood emotions, and he was someone who had emotional intelligence. You have to hear this. At the Battle of Hunayn, this is after the Muslims, and I want you to really listen here, focus here in this few minutes that we have, just a few minutes. And I want you to really focus on here how emotionally intelligent Rasulullah was and being able to be emotion focused. That's what I'm asking you tonight. If you got anything out of this, be emotion focused. Care about how am I feeling, ask yourself that question. Why am I feeling this way? And then to other people, why are they feeling this way and what are they feeling? And then management will come. Rasulullah ﷺ in the Battle of Hunayn, this is after the conquest of Mecca, when the army of Rasulullah conquered Mecca back, and they went right away to another area called Ta'if. and they thought that it's going to be easy battle. So the Muslim army, they just conquered Mecca, then now they went straight to Taif. They didn't realize how strong the army is going to be of Taif. Okay, you guys follow my story? Makkah, Taif, okay, got the terms, okay. And because I'll be honest with you, can I give you another honest answer? Honest self-disclosure. I have seen over the years MSA crowds, their knowledge of Islam has been deteriorating little by little. When I was going in the MSAs, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you could throw these terms and everybody would know. But for some reason, more and more, people have no idea even what Taif is, what, none of these terms are. And now these stories from the Siras are. So nowadays I have to even dumb down, I'm being real honest, I have to dumb down what I say, how I say it. Because it's throughout, I'm going across different MSAs, different college campuses, not just in New York City, and I'm doing this trend where the level of education of Muslims is dying. So this is very worrisome. I'll tell you why it's worrisome. It's amazing. I remember, I go on tangent like 10,000 of them. I remember when I was 4 or 5 years ago, I was involved in this local protocol campaign. All right, this local protocol campaign. I had a hard time getting people to mobilize to volunteer, right? To volunteer for this local campaign. Muslims have to have representative, blah blah blah. This is 4 or 5 years ago. Since Donald Trump election and that era now, a lot of people are active, representing the faith, political activism, social activism, Black Lives Matter movement. If you went to the ICNA convention, even ICNA is one of the Muslim conferences, you look at what was discussed 5 years ago in the conference versus this year. Every single talk was social activism talk. It's great. At one time, we had to pull teeth to get people to be socially active. Matter of fact, it wasn't too religious to talk about activism because it was like, it's not really Quran and Hadith stuff, so it's one of those side stuff. Now people are really focused. Hey, but we have to represent the Muslim. We have to get active in political world. We have to have representative. That's great. That's awesome. But something else is happening. What's happening is that the level of Islamic education among these activists are going down. So what's going to happen is you're going to go out there, represent Islam, represent Muslim causes, and along the process, you're going to lose the faith. So what was the use of you representing Islam or rising up for Islamic causes when slowly you lost the Muslim faith along the way? And so these people and their kids, how much Islam will they keep? We're going to become like the Jewish community where you're going to say, I'm atheist and I'm Jewish. Judaism is my heritage. That's the direction we're headed towards. And that's very scary in the next 30 years. It's amazing that we're very active and activists, but when our level of Islam education goes down, that's a problem. Okay, what was I talking about? The last story I'm going to tell you. So in the Battle of Hunayn, so the companions, the army of Rasulullah, of our God, they, after conquering Makkah, they go to this Taif, this another area, and they have this very difficult fight. And Rasulullah didn't realize how difficult it's going to be. The army of Taif was very strong. And so in that fight, the Ansar were the companions from Medina. Right? Rasulullah was born in Mecca, right? And his people are Quraysh. But he migrated to Medina, another city, and those people were the Ansars, right? So they were living in Medina. And so Ansar were a big supporter of Rasulullah. So the army came from Medina, and they're in Mecca. Now they went to Taif to fight. And Ansar really gave their all. When when battle was getting really heated, people left. People left the fight, because what's happening? People run. But Ansars, who were the strongest companions of Rasulullah, they don't leave. They stuck it out with Rasulullah. And so ultimately the army was defeated and the Muslims were victorious in this expedition. And what happened is after the battle, you have to really pay attention because this is very important. After the battle, it's a thing where the enemy soldiers they leave behind all the war booties, whatever, and they get distributed to those other soldiers. Correct? The old traditional warfare. And so Rasulullah is distributing the stuff left behind by the army to the people. Who does he give it to? He calls Al-Aqra bin Habis. He's another Qurayshi. He gives him 100 camels. Calls Abu Sufyan, gives him 100 camels. These are all people from Quraysh. So the Ansar who fought with Rasulullah, they're not getting anything. Rasulullah is calling up other people and giving them stuff. So now buzz started to happen. They said, look, may Allah forgive the Messenger of God. He's giving these war booties to the Quraysh and he's neglecting us. And we were fighting with him till the end. So what are they saying? Rasulullah is Qurayshi, correct? He's from Makkah. So now that he came back to his people, even though we were the ones supporting in Medina, he came back to his people, look at him. He's back to square one. He's just giving to his people. And we really don't matter much. And Rasulullah hears this. And he tells Sa'd ibn Ubadah, look, what is your opinion? He said, look, O Messenger of Allah, your companions from Ansar seem to have ill feelings towards you. There's this little thing going on in the army. And he says, you know what? Gather them. You could imagine. Now I want you to understand this conversation Rasulullah has. And I want to leave you with this. Just listen to the conversation that Rasulullah had with his companions. You have to understand how emotionally intelligent Rasulullah is. He understands the emotion in the room and he deals with emotions first. He gets them together and he said, "Oh Ansar, what is this news that has reached me?" And obviously they feel now a little bit guilty. Oh yeah, Rasulullah, no, it just our leaders have said nothing. It's just some young folks among us. They were a little bit rowdy. They said whatever they said. Ya Messenger of Allah, it wasn't us. So Rasulullah already realized that there's some tension in the room. So you can imagine as a leader now, he would say, wait a minute. He could give an explanation, right? He could say, look, let me explain to you why I'm giving all these camels to this Qurayshi people, this Meccan people, even though you guys fought with me. Why am I giving them? Why am I giving them? Is because they're new Muslim and I'm trying to give them some wealth, so establish them in the faith. Right? So make sure their financial status is good. Because if they have financial, so I'm giving them some gifts to make sure they're in a good side of my good side. It has nothing to do with me not favoring you and if I'm being Qurayshi, I'm giving it to my people. It has nothing to do with that. I'm just trying to make them their new Muslim. But you know what? He didn't even say that. You know what he said? He said, "Oh Ansar, were you not misguided and Allah guided you through me?" So he starts to sort of tell them like what I have done for you. And he said, indeed, O Messenger of Allah, all thanks to Allah. He said, look, you could say, now he's being real honest. Look at Rasulullah. I want you to hear what he's saying. He turns to companions, he said, I myself can testify that you could say, he's telling the companions, he could say that I came to you dejected and you accepted me. I came to you helpless because he was exiled from Mecca, right? Rasulullah was exiled and he went to Medina to take on shelter. He said, I came to you helpless, O Ansar, and you helped me. He said, I came to you, this is the message of God, this is Rasulullah talking. I came to you as fugitives and you took me in. I came to you poor, you comforted me. So look how honest he is. This is honest, emotionally intelligent conversation. Then he said, do you feel concerned for the things of this life? These people, they will leave with their camels. They will leave with their goods. And you're going to go back home with the message of Allah. If the Ansar goes in one direction, I will go in that direction. These people are going home with their camels. I'm not staying in Mecca. I'm going back home with you. What is he addressing? You might say, what in the world? What does that do with the conversation? But what is he addressing? Because they feel devalued. Rasulullah is giving the wealth to his people, Quraysh people, that they feel, the Ansar, the companions, they feel devalued. So you want to address the value on the moment. You want to have a real conversation. Look, I value you. I'm not going anywhere. Once we're done with this, I'm going back to Medina. That's where my home is. They're going back with their camels and their goods. I'm going back with you. He showed them value. He understood the emotion in the room and he addressed the emotion in the room. See, you and I need to learn how to focus on people's emotions. Parents have conversation with their children about going away to college and people talk, oh, that college is too expensive. Oh, no, but I want to go because there's a good program. You're both arguing, but no one want to be honest. The parent doesn't say that I'm scared that I'm going to send you away to college. And you don't say that, you know what, I want to, I'm tired of being in the house and being ruled. I want to get some freedom. No one says that. You have this on the top conversation about very superficial things. Being focused about people's emotions. And that's what I want to impress on you tonight. is that focus on people's emotion. Your own emotions, ask yourself about your own emotions. And then you can get to the management part. And then ask about how the other person is feeling, what the other person is dealing with. You can get a lot done. We, human beings, are more emotional being than rational. If you want to master the game, not just as an ingenuine because you want to win over people, persuade people, you want to blackmail, no. You want to really work well with people, you want to succeed in life, whether it be at a business, whether it be in a relationship, master emotions. Your intelligence is not going to take you too far. If you can understand yourself and someone else and manage both parties, you're going to do much better. You're going to do more. You're going to do well with your life. All right. So with that, I'm going to take some questions. We have